Hey, it's Rick Kettner here, and in this video, we're going to talk about the number one reason why most businesses fail. According to some estimates, upwards of 80% of new businesses fail within the first 18 months of being in business. So that is going to be the focus of this video, and of course, if you're interested in learning more about how to build and grow your business, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. But let's focus on this theme of the number one reason why businesses fail. And before we actually dive into that one reason, I want to establish some context because I think it's fair to say that most entrepreneurs tend to fall in love with the process of building a new business, and this can cause them to fall into some very common traps. And while these traps aren't the reason why businesses fail, they tend to prevent entrepreneurs from focusing on overcoming the issue that causes businesses to fail. So let's dive into this list, and then we'll get into the number one reason why businesses fail. So trap number one, obsessing about the product, service, or idea. This often happens for very good intentions. As entrepreneurs, we have some kind of a product or service or something that we want to bring to the world. And so naturally, we're obsessed about the idea. We're obsessed about building it out, creating the product, creating the service. And this, of course, is valuable. It's an important part of building a business, but overly focusing on the product is a very common trap. It's one that I've fallen into many, many times over the years, even recently. I've been in business as an entrepreneur for 21 plus years, and I still fall into this trap all the time. But yeah, it's easy to obsess about the product itself and to overly focus on that aspect of starting a business. Trap number two is obsessing about the brand name, logo, or website. Everything involved in making the business official or feeling more professional. And of course, this too can be an important part of starting a business, but it's an easy trap to fall into because it feels so important. We need to come up with the brand name. We need to come up with the logo. We need the website. Otherwise, do we really have a business? So this is a tempting trap to fall into, especially early in the process. It's not nearly as important as it may seem. And more importantly, it prevents us from addressing the number one issue that we'll get into here in a moment. But trap number three on the list, obsessing about setting everything up for success. This is another one that I fall into all the time. You start a new business and you think, I need that new laptop, I need that new camera, maybe I need a new desk for my home office. Or if you're starting an actual office with other employees, then you're going to need to set all that up. If you're starting a retail location, you want to get that all decorated and all that kind of thing. And the problem is, while this too can be an important part of starting a business, obsessing about these things at an early stage, again, can take your eye off the ball. And the problem with all three of these areas, why they're all traps, is while they're important, they aren't the most critical step of building a new business. And that brings us to the number one reason why most businesses fail. Most businesses fail to attract and convert customers. And at the end of the day, if you don't have customers, then you don't have a real business. And I think what actually happens to a lot of entrepreneurs who often are very adaptable, they're willing to change, they're willing to learn and grow. What tends to happen that actually causes businesses to fail is they go along this journey of building out their product, creating their service, coming up with their brand name, building their website, getting their logo ready, getting their home office ready. And this whole journey is a steady and clear sense of progress, right? They start here and they slowly get more and more of the business set up, and there's this sense of progress. There's these dopamine hits that you get when you're making progress. And while there's certain aspects of building out a product or creating a service that can be quite challenging, and even coming up with a brand name, there are definitely some aspects of that that can be challenging and cause you to really rethink the entire project. Generally speaking, these early stage aspects of a business are very rewarding and they have steady progress along the way. You get this sense that you're going somewhere, you're making progress, you're going to get there. Now, when this happens though to a lot of businesses, they launch their product and then suddenly either they didn't have a plan to attract customers or they did have a plan and it didn't work out. This can cause entrepreneurs to lose a lot of faith in their idea, to get very discouraged, and to basically feel like they've run into a wall, right? Up until that point, they had this steady momentum, and all of a sudden they just hit this wall. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to solve the problem. And more importantly, their expectations were up here. They thought, hey, I'm going to come out of the gate swinging. I'm going to have momentum. I'm going to have these customers. But in addition to just the financial concern that can obviously have a huge impact, I think a big part of this is psychological. The realization that there's so much work still out ahead. And so even though it feels like you've done an incredible amount over the last month or 6 months, depending on how long you've been kind of setting everything up, you reach this point where you realize you don't necessarily have a plan for attracting customers. And again, if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And so I think the real problem here is instead of approaching this challenge like so many other aspects of the business and looking to adapt, learn, and grow, which are common traits for entrepreneurs and tend to occur earlier in the process, when you run into this wall all of a sudden and you're caught off guard and surprised by all of a sudden the uncertainty of the entire venture, I think it causes a lot of entrepreneurs to quit because it's so shocking. And the reality is, getting customers is not that hard. It's a very solvable problem in most cases. As long as you have a product that some people want or a service that is of value to some people out there, generally speaking, it's a very solvable problem. So I think the very first solution is to reframe the context here. Now, a little bit later in the video, I'll talk about a better approach because ideally you don't want to be building out your product and then addressing marketing afterward. There is a better approach. But if you find yourself in this position where you've got your product, you've got your service, and suddenly you come to the realization that you don't know how you're actually going to sell this thing or attract customers and get them to actually spend money with you, then the best thing that you can do is reframe this situation as everything you've done up to this point is step one of the journey, right? You've got this egg of a business, and it took a lot of work to get this to this stage, right? The egg didn't just appear out of nowhere. You got to this stage, you put in the work to get there, but now it's time to let that egg hatch and actually do what businesses do, and that is attract and convert customers. So I think it's really important not to see all the work up until this point as a waste of time, but rather just laying a foundation for the work that you now have to do. And of course, I still understand that the financial strain, that might be a very real problem, but psychologically, it's important to get over this idea that all of that was wasted time and that you don't have a future. It's really important to realize, no, you've completed an important step. And now it's important to move to the next step. So what I recommend for people in this position, and even if you're earlier in the journey, which is ideal, I recommend Traction by Gabriel Weinberg and Justin Mares. This is a book that I refer to often here on the channel, and not because I have any financial interest at all. I don't know the authors. Maybe one day I will, but I don't know the authors. I don't have a financial interest in sharing this with you, other than to recommend that if you're in a position where you have a business, you're starting to get it going, and you either don't have a clear plan for attracting customers or you want a better plan for attracting customers, this book covers 19 different traction channels, different marketing channels that you can use to attract customers. And of course, there are many, many ways out there to attract customers. I actually did a follow-up video based or inspired by this book on 33 different ways to attract customers. The 19 options in this book are helpful, but they're not the most important part. What I love most about this book is the methodology and frameworks that they cover in this book when it comes to how you think about attracting customers. So right off the bat, the first thing that they recommend in this book, and arguably the most important thing, is that when you're starting a new business, that you split your time 50-50 between building out your product, building out your service, all of the traps that I mentioned earlier, the fun parts of building a new business. 50% of your time gets spent on that. And then the other 50% of your time on a part that I actually find very fun is the marketing side, figuring out how to attract, convert, and, well, along the way, nurture customers. At the very beginning, you might not even have a product yet, but whatever prototypes you have, or even just sharing your idea with people and getting a sense of, is there interest there? Are there marketing channels out there that seem like a good fit for your opportunity? It's really important right from the beginning to spend half of your time thinking about these things. Now, I know a lot of first-time entrepreneurs out there have this sense that marketing is this dirty word or it's this bad thing. It's all persuasion and manipulation. You're trying to trick people into buying what you have. That's not what marketing is about at all. Successful entrepreneurs think of marketing as simply the process of connecting customers that are interested in what you're selling with what you have to offer, and making it clear to them that here's this thing, here's how it could help you, here's why you might be interested in buying it. That's it. There's obviously a lot more that you can do with it, but that is the mindset going in. You're not trying to trick anybody. You're not trying to persuade or manipulate them. You're simply following the act of marketing, which is making it easier for people to discover and understand what it is that you offer and how it can help them. So that's the idea here. Now, that is one idea from the book. Another really important concept that I refer to actually quite often here on the channel is the BULLSEYE framework. It's a simple 4-step process that you can use to brainstorm marketing ideas, and ultimately, after you've completed the 4 steps, you'll find the one channel that is most promising for your business. So it's a very simple way to figure out how to attract customers depending on whatever it is that you're trying to set out to accomplish. So I strongly recommend that you read this book. It's one of my favorites, especially if you're starting a new business. And as I mentioned, it's ideal if you can split your time 50-50 right from the start. But even if you can't, even if you're already later in the game, better late than never. Start spending at least 50% of your time moving forward if you already have your product or you already have your service. But the main message of this video is that most businesses fail because they fail to attract and convert customers. So if you want to avoid their fate, it's really, really important that you take marketing seriously and that you think about these things as early in the process as possible. I hope this message has been a positive one for you. I know it's not necessarily the best thing to be talking about a business failing, and the reality is you might be in a position right now where you're very frustrated with where your business is at, but know that this is a very solvable problem, and that if you focus on what we talked about earlier, the willingness to learn, adapt, and change, and to see this as the next stage of your venture, then you can have success. You may need to adapt, you may need to learn, but you can have success. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed the message, if you learned anything here, please click the like button down below to let me know. It also helps YouTube share this video out to other people that may be facing a similar challenge. So definitely do that. And of course, if you're interested in learning more about how to build and grow your business, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.